my friend, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are talking about evening shutdown rituals because I'm sorry, if athletes cool down after the game, you need to cool down after a long day too. Let's talk about it. Yes, this is a piece of content that I created for my podcast, the Burnout-proof podcast, but honestly, you're on YouTube, so you get behind the scenes when I share the Notion systems as well. So let's go ahead and get into today's episode. We talk all about end of day shutdown rituals and why they're so stinking important. If you are a high performer, you need this. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are not, welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about end of day routines, evening routines, because I think for a lot of us, we've been sold this idea that if we just start our day right, everything falls into place. And yeah, the warm up matters. I'm going to give you a whole analogy to why I think it matters. But what about the cool down? What about the end of the game? Because right now you are going from 70 miles per hour, maybe 150 miles per hour, straight to zero. And that's not how any of this works. I want to give you a couple analogies to kick this whole conversation off today. Your morning routine is your on-ramp to the day. It gives your brain and your body time to get up to speed. Same thing, the on-ramp for a freeway by work. Your evening routine is your off-ramp. It gets your nervous system time to decelerate. Now, some people need longer on-ramps than others into your day. I am a slow morning girly. I love me a slow morning. Some people are I need to hit the ground running and I need a very short on-ramp. Like as soon as we get on that freeway on-ramp, we are pedal to the metal and getting up to speed as quickly as possible. That's not a flaw. That's a design. That's how we start to personalize all of this for every single one of us. And the same thing goes for our off-ramp. But here is the crux of this. If we treat the end of the day like slamming on the brakes at highway speed, and then we wonder why we can't sleep, can't stop thinking about work, can't be present with the people we love, that's fundamentally part of the reason why. But this is where this gets really, really good. Because here's the thing. This is kind of what I've realized. I'm going to use some athlete analogies today. Athletes already know this. Whether we're talking varsity level, collegiate level, professional level, athletes already know this. They know we need these on-ramps and off-ramps to game day, to game time. And what we're going to do today is we're going to apply that same logic to everyday life, to our work lives. So let's start with the warm-up. Athletes warm up for the game, right? Some need longer warm-ups than others. Some are recovering from injuries. They tape their ankle, they strap on their knee brace, which me, because I blew my knee out twice when I was playing high school soccer. Maybe they do extra mobility work, and we respect that, right? But what about after the game? This is the thing that I actually think we don't see. This is when the cameras are off. This is when nobody's paying attention. But after the game, they're doing a post-game stretch. They don't just walk off the field and then sit on the couch. You know, they're doing an ice bath. They're putting their muscles through active recovery for those parts that took the most impact. They're maybe visiting the trainer or the sauna, getting that targeted care for what's sore. Maybe they're doing a shakeout walk because if you don't move, tight muscles cramp up. Like for my people who hike, if you have ever gone on a really grueling hike, haven't done any cool down, hop in the car, and then you get out of your car when you get home, oh my God, your legs are like screaming at you. And maybe they make a plan for watching their game tape because you don't watch the game tape right after the game. If it didn't go well, you're going to be too hot-headed to be discerning. We need distance before we can be growth-oriented about what happened in that game. The translation here, though, for us is this. Your end-of-day shutdown is all of those things. It's the stretch, it's the ice bath, it's the shakeout, and the decision to review the game tape the day later, not while you're still activated. All of these are important transition rituals that we are not implementing. But what your shutdown ritual requires is going to shift based upon the season you are in. If you are in a heavy push season, maybe you've got a launch, a deadline, a big project, maybe you're in the playoffs, your cool down needs to be longer and more intentional. You took more hits. You're going to need more recovery. If you are recovering from an injury, maybe you had a triggering interaction with a client, a tough conversation with a partner, a bad day that rattled your nervous system. Your cool down might look completely different on that day. Maybe you take more time for yourself. Maybe you journal more than usual. Maybe you skip the screen entirely. Maybe you need movement instead of stillness. This is actually super applicable to what I'm going through this week as I record this. The other night, I journaled way more than I normally do during my shutdown. Usually journaling is a morning activity for me, kind of like a brain clearing activity to kick off my day. But I journaled in the evening because I needed it. My cool down wasn't the same as it was on a regular Tuesday. And that's the point. It shouldn't be. I was actually even talking to a friend recently who was one of those, she's one of the most dialed in morning routine people and has this beautiful morning routine. It's one of the best I've ever seen in my opinion. And I asked her what her end of day shutdown looked like and she didn't have one. Maybe that is why we're crashing. The warm up is pristine, but the cool down didn't exist. And the system was breaking down because of that. So we should definitely make sure we're leveraging that kind of end of day shutdown, that cool down routine from the day. But the shutdown shouldn't be some like rigid checklist. It's a recovery protocol, and it's going to adapt to your current load. Now, as we're talking about this though, I know there's some of you who might be saying, girl, I'm a high functioning hot mess. I don't have time for a shutdown routine. I barely have time to eat dinner. And I feel you. I'm like that on certain days as well. I didn't eat until 8:30 last night as I record this. But that's exactly the point though, because you're not a hot mess. You get shit done. You are not a hot mess. You're effective. You are productive AF, right? But you're also holding yourself to a standard that means you never fully stop. And deep down, you know that you're winging parts of this that could have been running way, way better. The shutdown isn't another thing on your to-do list. It's the thing that makes everything else on your list sustainable. It's the difference between a good quarter and a good career. It's the difference between a kick-ass rookie season and longevity and legacy. So here's what a shutdown actually looks like. And for those of you that are on YouTube, I'm going to give you an insight into mine, some of the things that I do in my shutdown. Does this have to be exactly what you do? Hell no, it doesn't. But this is what I'm currently doing. And this is something that has been tailored to me over several months, several years. I'm constantly tweaking and optimize it so it's really fitting what I need in that given season. Let me go ahead and show you. All right, so you guys have seen my Notion before. You know that I've got these kind of pinned tabs happening here. We're gonna go to my daily checkout, which honestly, I'm kind of vibing with the athlete analogies right now. So I think I'm gonna start to call this the cool down. We'll call it maybe for now, AKA the daily checkout. Because I've been calling it the daily checkout for so long. If I change the name and I try to find it again, I'm probably going to be like, where is it? But what I do in this cool down, this daily checkout, is I'm always checking in and logging habits because I'm somebody who I like the data of seeing like what I've done over time. So I'm always checking in and logging the habits for the day. So I'll go through and be like, hey, I slept 7 hours. I drank enough water. I definitely feel like I ate mindfully. I logged into my school. I got outside. I didn't stretch today, but I walked today. So I'll go through and I will kind of log these various different habits for the day. I will check in on my activities. Now, as I'm doing this, I haven't done this yet, but I'll go in and I'll say, okay, this was today's workout. Did I do this today? And if the answer is yes, I will change the status to done. And I'll see that reflected in my actual daily journal because this is all connected to this daily journal page for me here. So I will check in on my habits. I will actively say whether or not I did my workout. And then I'll go into my daily journal and I'll kind of update some other things. So you can see a little bit of what this looks like. I will say what stage of my cycle I'm in, whether I was energized, what my step count is currently like. And just for shits and giggles, I'll go ahead and update this right now. What my water intake's been like so far that day. And then I usually paste in my journal entry for that day. So I'll check in on that daily journal and then I'll also do a brain dump. This is something that I do to just mentally clear my brain at the end of the day. It helps me capture any like loose threads so things aren't rattling around in my head when I'm trying to wind down. And then I try to celebrate myself as well. I might add an accomplishment, add a pleasant event or an unpleasant event, add a gratitude. So it kind of helps not only tie up loose ends for my day, but it also helps me to make sure that I am celebrating the day and where the day went. Now, this is a new Notion update, which I'm happy to talk more about in the future. But one of the things that I am playing around with doing right now is I am playing around with a custom agent that provides a daily summary. I also might review my daily summary. This is another thing I'm trying to do and actively build in, just so, again, I am celebrating myself. That's kind of what a lot of this is about for me. So this is kind of what my cool down, what my daily checkout looks like right now. So some of the things from here that maybe you might want to incorporate is that brain dump, that place where you are capturing loose ends, those loose threads, so that they aren't rattling around in your brain, keeping you distracted, keeping you up at night. Maybe you want to review tomorrow's game plan. Maybe you want to know what you're walking into so you're not planning at 11 p.m. That's something that you might do as well. Maybe you want to close all the loops or note exactly where they will pick up. Again, one of the things that I've been leveraging with the new drop of Notion's custom agents is I have a custom agent as well that not only provides me with that daily summary, but I have another agent that provides me with a morning brief. Let me actually show you what this morning's brief looks like. This was the first one I've done since I just got access to this. It tells me what my priorities are, and I kind of go through and I check those things off. So I have that morning brief, which kind of takes the burden off of me to do a lot of planning the night before. I can just look at that morning brief. If you want to know more about custom agents, drop a comment below this YouTube video, or if you are listening on the podcast, feel free to comment below the podcast or reach out to me on Instagram if you want to know more about these. These are some of the ways that I feel like I'm delegating some of this mental energy, is I'm having an AI agent, a custom agent in Notion, do some of these things for me instead of me needing to do these things. And so then the final thing that I might do when I do this daily checkout is I might do some sort of a cool down activity. As I mentioned just a second ago, sometimes that's journaling. You know, if I've had a particularly emotionally taxing day, I might do a little bit of journaling. Maybe it's going for a walk, which granted isn't something that happens as regularly in the winter because the sun sets so early where I live in the winter. If I go for a walk, I might go for a walk down at my gym. Maybe it's stretching, but it's whatever is downshifting my nervous system. I think that's what's so misleading about seeing the YouTubers' morning routine or the Instagram day in the life that people will share is it feels prescriptive. It feels like this is what they do every day. And maybe it's what they do most days. But I think our routines need to be different. We need to have different shutdown modes, different cooldowns that we are doing for different seasons that we are in. Maybe for a regular day or a heavy day versus a recovery day. But the goal is to make the shutdown, make the cooldown a system, not willpower. That is why I show that daily checkout page in my Notion system. And every time I have a new idea of something that I want to adapt to, I add it in. I kind of think of that more as a menu, potential options for what I might need versus something that I actually do every day. And actually, as I'm talking to you guys about this, an idea that I'm actually getting is something that I already do in my morning check-in and kind of my on-ramp for the day that I think would really benefit me for my checkout. If we look at my daily check-in page, I have this Get Aligned section where I've got several different options of things that I could check into, playlists that I can listen to, a day in a life visioning that I can go ahead and read, finances manifestation I could listen to, a morning affirmation, a MadFit workout, a hypnosis. These are all things that I can do to get aligned for the day. And I know I've talked about this before on YouTube, maybe not as recently on the podcast, but again, it's a menu. I don't do these things every single day. I think that would be really beneficial for me to do on my cool down page as well, is to have a sort of menu for what I'm going to do to end the day. Let's call this the wind down, if you will. What I would probably do is I would probably give myself some various different options, like need recovery, journal in today's daily journal or something like that. Then maybe I say need movement, like here's a playlist of stretching videos. And then I could go ahead and link to that. But I could build a sort of wind down menu for myself to make this even more accessible. So that is kind of what I mean when I say make the shutdown a system as opposed to willpower. I think anytime we can systematize, the better, because it takes the burden off of our brain to be the thing that is driving that forward. But if you were an athlete, you wouldn't skip the cool down and then wonder why you're injured mid-season. So let's stop doing that to yourself in your life and in your business. Your shutdown, how you shut down from your day, is how you protect your longevity. Not just tonight, but for the whole season, for the entire legacy of you doing this work and living the train like someone who expects to last. And if we can bring that to our morning routines, to our evening routines, even better. If this hit, come tell me in the community. Head to the link in the show notes and tell me, what does your cool down look like right now? Or are you somebody who is still slamming the brakes on at highway speed in the evening and wondering why your brain won't wind down? And if you're on YouTube, if you want to learn more about how I'm building these check-in and check-out, I highly recommend you come over and join in the community. Drop a comment if you're interested in any of these as templates, something I'm happy to create and share. They're already built into some of my master templates for my Notion systems, but please let me know
know. Go ahead and drop a comment below if that is something you're interested. But with
all right, my friend, that is it. That is the end of today's episode. I really hope you took something from this. I'm really loving the like athlete analogies to explain so many of these things because you are a high performer, right? And we need high performing routines and systems to support us through that, because we are not here for the short term. We are here for the long haul, the legacy, the longevity, and we need to set ourselves up accordingly. So if this resonated with you, if you want to see deeper dives into any of these systems that I shared, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And with that, I will talk to you next time. Bye.